You guys doing all right?
Yeah.
All right. You guys are so kind to do this to me. So I just moved to the city.
Welcome.
Thank you. From Indiana, of all places. Literally never expected that. Okay. So this is like a reflection on. This is a reflection on King David and me and my life and spiritual journey and everything. So do with it what you will. All right. It's called After God's Own Heart, subtitled The Outsiders. To be called a man after God's own heart implies men of faith and courage, saints smiling kindly and prophets begging for justice. But spoken of a king, can this be? The illegitimate son of Bethlehem nobility, eager to murder giants. The runaway polygamist, blaspheming holy bread. The corrupt politician who collects women and slaves. The murdering rapist, a neglectful father. Is this the man after God's own heart? By what measure was this man measured? What qualifiers were found more worthy than his many faults? By which standards, what acts, and what grace can this man be accepted? The long journey of studying lives is for my own life, and so the question turns ever deeper towards me. Who am I? What aspect shall be remembered when I am judged? Am I my sexualities, my race, my faith? Am I my stories, my jobs, my personalities, my loves and my hates, my joys and my fears, all experiences, brought together that I may call me me? Where does reality focus her blinding gaze? What shall define me? Am I a heretic, the eternal outsider, an Adventist among Anglicans, an Anglican among Adventists? What of Christianity? Am I a confessor due to convenience? Am I happy to be warmed in the faith of my childhood and stories, and the blood and soil and money of colonizers and charlatans? Am I black enough, Haitian enough? A child lost between the worlds. He cannot speak the tongue of his grandparents. He does not cook their food. He asks questions they find meaningless. Who am I? I know. Despite the storms of anxiety, flashes of rebellions, and fears of failures, I know. The Eternal One has prepared for me a banquet table. Each Thanksgiving Day before my grandmother's table, surrounded by my spectacular family, oh, how deeply I know who I am. I am the outsider. We are all outsiders. It is what brought us together. We are Haitians in America, blacks in Alabama, Northerners in the South. We are liberals among conservatives, immigrants among Americans, Adventists among evangelicals. And yet, unified, we are not so completely uniform. We are not all Haitian. We are not all black. We are not all Northerners. We are not all liberal. We are not all Adventists. But we are all here. We are all gathered around this holy table filled with steaming rice and red beans, baked macaroni with crispy crust, turkey legs swimming in onions, pepper, and cloves. Potato salad, green bean casserole, sparkling juice, and on this most intimate of meals, we are thankful for God's most intimate gift, God's self. Yes. I know who I am every time I come around the table. When I bow and I'm filled with delight to bow before a table each Sunday, I'm happy to cross myself before it, to adorn it with silk robes and crosses and books. Here I am still an outsider. I was the only black man, the only former Adventist, the only single young person. That loneliness is as familiar as family, and yet we are all outsiders. It is what brought us together. Outsiders, also from larger cities, now laying roots in Indiana. Progressives, also surrounded by conservatives and neoliberals. Religious minorities who also feel more comfortable here than at home. Here are others who could no longer stand their own churches any longer. Here are others who cannot find it in themselves to leave Jesus. Here we worship the ultimate outsider. A dark-skinned Palestinian man. Can't you see his woolly hair? His full cheeks despite his malnutrition, who said that he was God, that God which is beyond gods, beyond gender, beyond race, beyond existence, that God in which all existence is contained, of who all stories point to, that God who our ancestors knew better than to call it, but not enough to laugh that he might actually be a he. That God has come down and brought all of the universe into this dark-skinned Palestinian man. This breathing contradiction, this walking God, this healing human, this singular plurality has meant to bring us up to him in order to make us gods. He is here to defeat the dark spiritual masters who expose themselves like cystic acne in forms of governments and violence, armies and disease, abuse and greed. And this outsider raises me on a new religious political reality where I, despite every noxious flaw, am called a human after God's own heart. So maybe there is truth in this tradition that carries saints and charlatans. This truth that I bind myself to, that has a heart too familiar with coercion, pain, and violence. Maybe then I can embrace those flaws in myself, and I will be fed at the table with food that is more than food, with the greatest gift of all, God giving of God's self to me. Thanks so much. Péan and check out more of my other words and writing if you guys liked it. Thanks so much.